All right, good evening, everybody. It is 10:30 on the East Coast, 7:30 on the West Coast for our still temporary but long-term temporary shift out an hour for to make sure that James can get the mad cash so he can pay his bills and we can keep making this cartoon, right? How's it going, James?
Can't complain. How are you doing over there?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I managed to finish work off a little bit early, so I'm catching up on a little bit of South Park right now. If you want to, you can just jump
Nice.
right into animation here. Um, it's I'm a couple seasons behind because I don't have cable, and then they don't South Park's not on Hulu anymore. It's only on HBO Max. But then I
Okay.
found out that just by virtue of my cell phone account, I get a free HBO Max
There you
subscription.
go.
So there you go.
Enjoy that sweet, sweet perks of having one of the corporate mobile companies pay for your.
There you go.
Well,
See, whoever said that big business was all bad?
it's good.
Excuse me. I swallowed some spit. Okay. Man, this is a
Right
really
there.
professional stream.
All I can do is give you the virtual Heimlich. That's all I can
I
do.
know. I'll make it. I'm an inch. Oh man, that was weird. Okay.
Here, I'll drink water for you.
That'll help. That'll definitely help. So how's it going, James?
Good. I was gonna do something. I was gonna. Well, I mean, I kind of already told you a little bit in our off meeting, but I'm going to discuss a character today that
Okay.
just kind of randomly came up last week, and it does take. I mean, it's a whole thing where, yeah, we're working on episode one, but then once in a while you get this inspiration. For example, the Shame Machine from
Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
streamed
Mm-hmm.
that, where you kind of just want to explore it a little bit, and then so now I want to throw the character out into the arena so then we can both discuss it and then see what ideas pop in your head as well, because again, it's a collaboration. We're always kind of bouncing ideas off each other.
Mm-hmm.
So with all that out of the way, I'll share my screen. Let's see if it actually works.
It does. I remembered again.
What?
Yeah, I know. Old dogs
Yeah,
can learn new tricks.
man, I was really hoping to kind of rib you a little bit and then see if I can
Yeah,
get
I'll
it
forget again. Don't worry. It'll
right.
happen. I'm not worried about that.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna show you the sketch I did last night. Yeah, yeah, or try to sketch it again. No, I'll sketch. I'll show you.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
So I call this character cosplay.
Okay.
So what this character does, like this character is almost like an apparition type
Mm-hmm.
character.
Mm-hmm.
What cosplay can do is essentially the same thing like what Ditto does in Pokemon Go.
Mm-hmm.
As long as there's a costume around, cosplay can assume the role of whatever's in that costume
Mm-hmm.
and trick Calamity Jane and become that villain of the week or whatever. But at the end, when Calamity Jane foils that villain, it's not really that villain at all. It's cosplay and disappears into the night again
Oh, interesting.
and finds a new costume to wear whatever whenever uh, it decides to play more tricks on Calamity Jane. Now this could go into. I mean, this is what can I say? Like this could be really a problematic issue for Calamity Jane, especially in crowd scenes or a Comic Con convention, where cosplay could be assuming different costumes all the time.
That's true.
Uh, anyway, so that was my initial. This is my initial sketch. This is a very. Uh, it echoes back to definitely Spirited Away's character a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I
Yeah.
need to play with it. But yeah, in a general sense, yeah. So the general character is kind of ghostly.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell what origin the character is. It's humanoid, but that's all you really get. And then this mask that's half the drama mask of half,
Half
one side.
comedy, half drama. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. So with all that being said, now what's your initial reaction? Hate it, like revulsed. I don't know what the heck is going on with James tonight.
I'm curious. Pitch me an idea of like so I get the idea of a shapeshifter kind of character.
Mhm.
I immediately get vibes of the Batman villain Hush.
Oh yeah, does Hush do that?
Yeah, well, isn't like Hush is like a surgeon who's obsessed with plastic surgery and
Hmm.
is constantly changing his features. So he's not really truly a shapeshifter, but
Hmm.
he uses surgical correction to impersonate other people.
Okay.
Um, so like the idea of Hush portraying, I believe there's been storylines where he's assumed the mantle of another Batman villain, and Batman thinks he's fighting one villain, then it turns out to be Hush.
Oh
Are you
man.
are you thinking along those lines?
I was actually thinking about Ditto from Pokemon Go more than anything else because I'm assuming Ditto came. Well, did Ditto come before?
Oh yeah, Ditto came way before. Ditto's one of the original 150, and the original
Yeah,
Pokemon came out in 1998, so that's
I
way
didn't.
before Hush.
I read the origin of Hush, and that was all I. So I didn't know what Hush was gonna do. I thought it was kind of he was a lame villain.
Yeah,
But
he's not my favorite either, but
I didn't know that was his quote unquote power was to impersonate other people. I obviously didn't know that, but I remember reading Hush, the original origin story, and it was like he went way back with Bruce Wayne and each other since they were kids.
childhood
He
friend.
yeah, then he surgically altered his face to look like Bruce Wayne. Is that what he was in the
Yeah,
origin?
he did. Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
And I thought that was the extent of it. I didn't know he was going to keep doing that.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
Yeah. So I don't know. We
Well,
could be.
then now in your mind, do you imagine this character to be um an actual ghost, or do you imagine maybe not strictly necessarily a ghost, but like a supernatural entity of some sort, or
I don't want to answer that question now.
hmm
You could if you
hmm
wanted to. I'm only throwing this out there as discussion tonight. I don't even know if we're gonna end up throwing this one in the trash compactor. This character. I mean, we haven't done it yet, but I never get too attached to anything because I can always make something else. I'm never too concerned about it. Um,
So I don't. I'm pretty. I can go pretty far with this. I'm just trying to clear my thoughts here and frame my words into semi-coherent sentences. I mean, where this character comes into play is in the notion of identity, right?
mhm.
One of the themes that we always have with Calamity Jane, it's always sort of in the back of our mind, is Calamity figuring out what her identity is, who she is, not identity in sort of a joining a group sense, but identity as in who am I, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And to that end, this is a character that makes a lot of sense to play off of her own insecurities and her own sort of journey to figure out her place in the world and where she fits in it.
Mhm.
So I think that there's a lot of potential there. Now, are you thinking that when there would actually be an episode at a cosplay convention? I'm not against it. I think that would be hilarious. But man, that seems like a lot of art for you to draw.
Yeah, this character. First of all, this character is not going to be showing up until like if we ever end up getting this off the ground in any form or fashion, this character will not show up until like season 3 or 4.
Yeah.
This is a way off character. I mean,
Because
because yeah,
I love the idea of like this character showing up in Dry Gulp Gorge and then Calamity giving chase, and she just runs through a random door into a comic book convention, right? Like we don't even have to explain it, and this character cosplay disappears into the crowd. But then what Calamity Janes discovers is that she is the center of attention at this convention. She's we've talked about this to a certain extent, that there is sort of an interdimensionality to Dry Gulp Gorge and its environs, and so in this alternate dimension, she's a known entity, and this cosplay convention, she's sort of a celebrity,
mm-hmm,
an unwitting celebrity.
mm-hmm.
And so then, the episode could be about not only trying to catch up with cosplay, but also coming to terms with the fact that in this reality, she's a like what she has a brush with fame, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's just a brainstorm right there. Um, why do you think? Do you have any thoughts on why cosplay has interest in Calamity Jane? Or
Um,
go ahead.
yes. I actually some of these questions that you asked,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of did have an sort of an origin for cosplay, and this is where before we got on the stream tonight, Eric and I talked about whether we want to go too much in depth with another character, but cosplay, in my mind, and again, everything's malleable here, was actually created by another villain.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
interesting. Oh,
in
okay.
my thought, now I can't even see my screen here. This is the animator,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you see in the background, these are his minions, right?
Right.
Now, Eric, you can speak to this and add meat to the bone here. But these minions are what he calls his in-betweeners.
Mm-hmm.
What cosplay is a really ambitious in-betweener that wants to do more and
Rising
keeps
above his station.
riding above. Yes. So animator created this monstrosity, and he just kept like having this particular in-betweener wash his car out back. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he never. This in-betweener is a grumpy in-betweener.
Well, what if rather than it being sort of a disgruntled employee,
Mm-hmm.
what if it is sort of a misplaced, like it has again risen above its station in a manner of speaking, and you know the animator obviously created the in betweeners, and we'll one day we'll go into more detail about who they really are specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and with the intent of defeating Leon originally, and then that gets repurposed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this in betweener, he still has, or it still has its original sort of programming, if you will, and so in a weird way, it's trying to fulfill the objectives that the animator gave to it originally. However, it ends up working at cross purposes to the animator because its methods aren't really the way the animator would approach it. And
Mm-hmm.
so, even though it does think that it's trying to fulfill the objectives imbued within it, it's doing it in such a way that it actually becomes a more dangerous villain than the animator had anticipated.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the animator gets jealous and or insecure and angry.
Oh, absolutely. I think
Of course.
jealousy and anger and resentment are par for the course. This is the animator we're talking about here.
Um, yeah, so that was a general origin that I had for cosplay.
Hmm.
Now, whether we want to stick with it or not, I don't know.
I mean,
Uh,
I don't think there's ever a, you know, if we can find a story that works for the character, then always, like, I'm not going to turn down good ideas. I would imagine that, like, there would be a great opportunity. I would think that the first time we see cosplay is actually like a standard doppelganger episode
mhm.
where Calamity comes into Dry Gulp Gorge and everybody's angry at her for some reason. It's something that she's not done. She knows she didn't do it because she wasn't there, you know.
Uh,
And it turns out that that cosplay is wreaking havoc around Dry Gulp Gorge while impersonating Calamity.
I
It's
just thought of something else too.
yeah.
Cosplay is really terrible at its job.
Okay.
So when it impersonates Calamity Jane, it like literally has like a bucket on its head that's painted like purple,
Uh huh.
and then like has like an orange hoodie, and then people just think it's Calamity Jane, for example, you know, and like everybody can tell it's not, like when you go to Comic-Con, there's people that really try, but their costume just sucks.
Yeah. Sure.
Sorry for those people, but that's what cosplay is—a very low level, just beginning cosplayer that doesn't understand how to.
Well, what if we split the difference? We don't have to go so rudimentary.
Uh,
But what if it's more like all of cosplay's costumes look more like rag dolls. So
Oh,
it
so
does
people,
vaguely look like Calamity, but the eyes are buttons,
uh,
and the mouth is drawn on with markers, and there's a clear zipper in the back, right? And the tail is clearly stuffed with cotton, and it's like a patchwork on the tail. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's not so there is effort, there is work that's been put into it, right?
yeah,
But it's pretty clear that it's not, and yet it always fools everybody but Calamity.
yeah. hmm I think I like that idea a lot. Actually, there's some sort of hook where cosplay just sucks
Yeah.
because cosplay is, if we want to stick with the origin, was created by the animator, and the animator kind of sucks.
Well, I mean, in to that regard, it's a copy of a copy, and so it
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense that its magical efforts are in the same vein as the animator, but not as refined as the animator's efforts, right?
yeah. hmm
And so, yeah, but I do like the idea, though, because this is Dry Gulch Gorge after all, that that despite its clearly its deficient efforts, which Calamity is aware of, and we as the audience are aware of, everybody else is completely fooled by it. And I just imagine a hilarious scene at the end of the first episode where finally Calamity and cosplay in a Calamity costume are sitting next to each other, right? And Mitchell or someone is trying to tell which the real Calamity is. And Mitchell goes, "They look exactly alike." And Calamity's like, "Are you serious right now?" Right? And she just gets super frustrated because obviously she's Calamity and that's right, but everybody else is completely mystified. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. I like that a lot. And then, I mean, it would be. I don't know whether, again, this is way early, but does cosplay talk? If
Mm-hmm.
cosplay doesn't talk, that's even funnier because Mitchell could have a conversation. Well, what do you think, other Calamity?
And we just cut close to the head moving left and right, and the little button eyes.
See,
Go,
that's you. You're the real Calamity.
right.
You know, like shows how out of touch Mitchell is because he barely pays attention to anything Calamity ever says anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can't tell. And he just freaks out. That'd be kind of funny.
And yeah, and all the characters put words into cosplay's mouth. So like there'll be a scene early on where cosplay and the really bad, and we can do this like I would imagine the cold open for this episode would be cosplay in the bad Calamity Jane costume robbing Dry Gulch Gorge's bank, right? And like Mitchell or somebody is in the bank, and then cosplay holds up a cartoon gun or a cardboard gun. It's very clearly fake. It's not even a gun. It's like a Mega Man blaster or something.
Yeah.
It's clearly fake, but everybody's horribly threatened by it. And everybody keeps going like, Calamity, why are you doing this? And then cosplay doesn't respond. It just moves his head and the button eyes jiggle around. And they just keep putting words into cosplay's mouth. Well, I didn't know you were so angry. If you needed help paying rent, you could have talked to me. And then the head just keeps moving, right?
Yeah.
And so the cold open is a bank robbery by Calamity Jane, but clearly it's not. And then when we come back, Calamity Jane rides into town on Tinsel and then is immediately put under arrest by maybe Big City Lawyer is there or something.
Of course. Yeah.
So
And then of course cosplay is using like a trike or a bike.
yeah, right, exactly. But it just got like again, it's got a cardboard head glued onto the front of it.
Maybe
Right.
it's got streamers.
And it has tinsel streamers on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it being bad at cosplay. And you can sort of see like between the seams like in the costume if it's like if it's something like another character that's like a robot character or something and so it's got like it's everything is made out of pieces of cardboard and its cloak bunches up between the seams in the cardboard.
So it's all bursting on the side.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really funny. Yeah, I think that's the hook is
yeah, there you go.
is he just
Yeah, and then you the tongue hanging out. That's brilliant. Yeah. Like, when is my tongue ever hanging out, Mitchell? I don't understand. My tongue doesn't hang out. Mitchell's like, oh, no, I'm pretty sure I've seen that. Like, he argues with Calamity even though it's clear. Yeah, and then it's like a wire coat hanger on the other side, right? And then the smiley face on the hoodie is a square instead of a circle, so he doesn't even get that right. But there's a lot of effort put into it though, you know?
Yeah.
But then, and the character when in costume though really will live or die based on the secondary animations, right? So as you move around the wire antenna in the eyes and everything jiggle awkwardly, right? Yeah, and then her tail will be stuffed with cotton and be a patchwork of stuff. Yeah, and it's still it doesn't have the regular hands. It's still the long spindly. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. I love that.
I was actually saying like maybe we should make it a turtleneck instead of a hoodie.
Oh, maybe it is a turtleneck. Yeah. It's like, ooh, Mitchell, why would I wear a turtleneck? That's just ridiculous. What am I, 80? Yeah. Yeah, I love the idea of like a bit of his cloak being pushed out from the bottom of the feet. It's got wire on the inside to make it rigid. Yeah, exactly.
Like a duck pipe or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then of course, there'll be like little spots where his stuff will be floating outside of it.
And then I love and that's obviously great. That would be the first episode he shows up as he's impersonating Calamity. But then like I like the idea too of like in every episode Calamity shows up after cosplay has done something, because the only way cosplay can get anything done is when she's not there, right? Because she's the only one who's not gullible enough to fall for this. Yeah, and so she comes into town in one episode and impersonating Mayor cosplays declared martial law in Dry Gulp Gorge and installed itself as the ruler of Dry Gulp Gorge. And she's like, "Are we really going to do this again?" Or maybe when it's impersonating Mitchell, it does the wrong kind of bag over the head. So like it grabs a tea kettle. It's not even a bag. Like it uses a tea kettle. The easiest thing, it still gets that wrong.
Although I think it'd be kind of funny. I mean, this happens probably later on, but when cosplay does impersonate Mitchell, it's a spot-on impersonation of Mitchell.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
Perfect. And you can't tell the difference except for, well
again, if cosplay doesn't speak, though, Calamity would figure it out pretty easy.
Or what cosplay could do is have a cassette recorder and then plays all the lines that Mitchell's ever done in his, in his
we just do an episode where we actually just go back to previous voice recordings, like South Park did for Isaac Hayes after he quit the show.
Yeah, we could do that. There was gonna be plenty. There would be plenty of material, I would imagine, by that point.
Yeah,
especially with his one-liners and stuff.
Yeah. And Calamity's like, Mitchell, are you okay? Because you've told that joke before and it didn't work the first time.
And then the real Mitchell's beating, that's because it's old material.
He's like trapped somewhere, like beating on a window. No, I would never use that joke again.
Yeah. But that's kind of funny. I mean, we're riffing on.
No, I love the idea of, especially when we hit on the idea of he's not great at cosplay, but it's really, he's put a lot of effort into this, though, right? This isn't something that's slapdash. He's just not particularly refined in his efforts. And I don't know if it's just that the people of Dry Gulp Gorge are just not that observant, or are just very, very forgiving with their people's efforts. Like maybe there's a few characters like, well, I knew it wasn't Calamity, but he clearly put so much work into it. I felt bad about, so I just sort of went along with it. So Sally would be that. Sally, of course, knows she'd know that it was fake, but she didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so she just sort of went along with cosplay just to spare its feelings.
Yeah. The only other thing left is, really the only question then is cosplay originated from animators' work, or is cosplay a mysterious entity that comes out of nowhere?
No, I mean, I like the idea of it coming from the animator, and it fits into the copy of a copy sort of mentality, right? Because cosplay's powers are similar to the animators in certain respects, but not, they don't work the same as a result, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can even like, because the animator gets his powers from a magical animation tablet, not a computer, like an actual, like, animator's board.
Yeah.
And we could say that, like, cosplay stole a crafting table, right, and imbued it with the same magical powers that the animator imbued his tablet with, but because, for obvious reasons, it wasn't as refined as the animators, and so it kind of came off wonky. So the reason he can make these outfits is because he's got a crafting table that he can make, he can magically imbue things with, but it's never as refined as a result. But I do love the idea of, like, of course Mitchell is always fooled, and of course most of the town folks are always fooled. Calamity is never fooled, and Dr. Exposition would never be fooled, and Sally O'Flanagan would never be fooled. No. But in the case of Sally, she didn't want to hurt cosplay's feelings because he put so much effort into it.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. I mean, it is kind of cool that a few people in town do know, are in the know, and it's just up to Calamity to deal with it.
Yeah, Clem obviously knows, but Clem doesn't care. He really doesn't care.
All he cares about is that game of solitaire.
Yeah, that's right. So at the end of the episode where Mitchell is replaced, Mitchell's like, "Why didn't you do something?" Clem is like, "I was in the middle of a game."
Yeah.
He just shrugs.
Oh. So
that's pretty
there we
funny.
go. I haven't, the design obviously is all over the place. I mean, I keep going with that same kind of weird, ethereal kind of feeling.
I like the idea of the mask being slightly smaller than the head.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think that looks better. Yeah.
I almost wonder if, I do like the fact that it's a drama type mask. I mean,
I like the idea of the half comedy, half tragedy mask. I thought that was pretty funny. And it gives you a nice, silly expression on the mask's face.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you could probably play around with that a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're in the right direction, going down the route of masks of comedy and tragedy.
Yeah, because I feel like that's all encompassing, because whatever role cosplay decides to play, it's always going to kind of fall into one of those areas.
Right, exactly.
And I mean, there was a point, I was thinking about this too, because the mask itself could be the one that's imbued with the powers, like the...
Sure, yeah, that's true. The mask could be the one with the powers, yeah.
Yeah, and so when cosplay picked it up and put it on, that was it. That's when self-realization or actualization happened. So, and now it's just a part of the character. But yeah. So there you go.
For sure. Wow, that's pretty fun. That was a fun thought experiment. There you go, everybody. More examples of how we actually. There's no trick to it. We literally just. I have an idea, or James has an idea, and then we talk about it long enough until we convince each other that it's the most brilliant thing ever.
Yeah. And again, this character wouldn't show up anyway, not for a while.
Not for a while, but yeah, it's something. I love the idea for anybody who watches this now, and then we eventually get to it years from now. They're like, "Oh shit, it actually happened."
Yeah. But cool.
Cool. Well, that's right at about 30 minutes. So that was a fun night. Thanks for sharing. That was fun to play around with that.
Yeah, likewise. It was fun to hear your thoughts, seeing it, and working with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in as always, and we will see you next week. James, are we still on the later schedule next week?
I believe so. And
Okay.
until I'm in the clear, yeah, let's just push it to our 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time.
That's right. That's right. And James did what I can never manage to do and put the Pacific Coast first.
I'm
And as
biased.
always, you can.
West Coast bias here.
That's right. You can check out our Patreon site. You can find it at just calamityjane.rocks. You can check us out on YouTube, which is presumably where you're watching this right now, or on Facebook at Calamity Jane Adventure Hour. Have a good night. Have a good week, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week at 10:30,
Good night,
7:30.
everybody.
All right. Bye, everybody. Okay.